We also have some World's Champion performers here with Ging and Unid.
Turtle.
And players like Dasik that I think have proven this set, and pretty much every set before this one, but this one more with tangible results with a Super Brawl win, that he deserves to be at Worlds finally. I think with Solo Kasang as well, one of those players that has been around for so long, but hasn't quite been able to make it to Worlds. So hopefully they're able to do it. Dasik currently second in the standings too. No one's surprised if you've been paying attention to the set. He's been performing. Currently first and second on EU West ladder at the same time, and that just says everything already.
He also hasn't been streaming a lot lately. Like, has just been fully focused in on, doing as much research as possible. He's a player that has a very strong technical base. Skarambe is also a player that we've kind of gotten more familiar with during this year, not necessarily this set, but just this year as a whole. Has just kind of come in now with the Rising Legends circuit now being more embracing of like every single server and all of these people. Like you have the open qualifiers, you have the 4 ladders that go into a tournament, stuff like that. He has really shown, again, you had the honor of casting him in the rest of EMEA regional competition, etc. as well, right? Like, he's just been really good overall.
Yeah, absolutely. Has definitely got incredible stats when it comes to our performance in Set 7. I think out of all the players that are taking part, based on the Golden Spatula Cups, he had like the highest win rate or something. So definitely crack player, super nice, super goated, and we're gonna look over his shoulder and see where he is right now.
And something else to, just talking about cracked players, Double 61, he's won regionals in the last set, the one before that as well. He's currently first in the standings on day 2. I mean, if this guy does it again, I think it's a clear-cut answer, Wida, in terms of who is by far and away the best player in EMEA's history, really.
Yeah, I mean, for a lot of people, I think Aaron is kind of agreed on this double.
Yeah, it is Casey Double, right? At this point, we don't even have to describe the man. We're just talking about him. But Panda, you're getting excited about something that's barely a real comp.
It barely is, yes. Volley Bear, Shimmer skill start, sword already equipped on this Titanic unit. Nasus in the shop as well, might be thinking about getting it, and then also just one little Jax in the shop and able to get that Shimmer skill 3 online, which every player is hoping for at the start of this stage 2.
Absolutely. So that's going to be a little bit of a gold moment as augments are being picked across the board. This time we're not getting blessed with prismatics first. It's going to be very calm, very easy. Just a round of silver augments to start us off. And we see a blue battery on the side of Ging.
We actually do that, right? And I want to talk about Dasik's board here for a second, because he levels up here, has the Astrals in, but immediately slams to Titan's Resolve. So he is definitely looking for more of those, like, we talk about the Siphon composition, something like that, most likely. Titan's Resolve, not necessarily the best defensive item in the percent like a traditional Astral or Mage composition.
A good augment for it as well. Second win going to help with healing up those very important units that already going to have Mystic eventually if he does end up going for that Jade Whispers. But overall, good start here. Would have maybe hoped to have a Nidalee 2 instead of that Lux to get the Astrals online and have that Titan's Resolve on Nidalee instead, which will be the better item carrier for that usually.
Notably, somebody has picked up the AFK augment, and if you're not familiar with that,
my favorite.
In tournament context, this means open fording, lost streaking all the way, not gonna do a bunch here, and will definitely bleed a little bit, but that's the price you pay for gold.
Thanks, Water Tiger, missing a glass of water, said, well, perfect chance to go get it in these first 3 rounds.
Just a nice little cup of tea.
This is a big advantage, Bacon. I don't know why you're laughing. Water is so important for all of you at home. Hydrate yourselves at all times.
Could do that with Lagoon as well, right? Like, it's a very nice little tie-in you got going here for yourself there, right? And it's just like the perfect storm, really, for Swallow Tiger, right? He has the gold generation coming from the AFK in a while, and also starts and gets a head start on the Lagoon in the process.
But definitely a win streak will not be coming to. This is by far and away a lose streak augment, double dipping into these econ traits. Don't give you so much board strength, but do give you a lot of gold to work with. And we saw, I think, all throughout this tournament and all throughout this set, really, how important gold is to shape up your board going into the late game and trying to maybe play for that 1st or 8th playstyle with only 2 games left in this day 2. Some players more desperate than others to have those points start racking up, trying to get those 8 and 8, 16 points can maybe leapfrog you into that top 8 once these 2 games are done.
As someone that is very familiar with Odessa's back catalog here, could you talk about, like, is he a player that, generally speaking, tends to go for these more like all-round augments?
I think overall, Possibly, yes. I think he's not the riskiest of player. I think he's a player that really came up a lot in these last 2 sets as just a player that's able to just perform, play the meta in ways that just, again, clean ways, not doing anything too crazy, but still performing at a high level and knowing what decisions to make and what lines to take usually in this early game as well. And I think Electric Charge at pretty much every stage, Prismatic included, is just a very good augment, especially if you already have those frontline upgrades like that Malphite 2, for example, because it's going to proc so many more times in a longer fight.
Absolutely, and we are seeing once more an Ezreal that does a lot of damage. In the previous round, we did see Volterix going for that Ezreal 3. It's not going to be as dramatic here, but still Ezreal 2 dishing out a lot of damage with that Rage Blade.
Talking about augments that lock you into specific directions, both Ging and Solvi have picked up Blue Battery 1. Pretty much a no-go for AD comps like Jade, she'll use Siphon, for example, and locks you more into, ideally, the Dragon boards later into the game, maybe a Lux angle as well that we've seen a few times. But any other comps you would consider, Guido, with this Blue Battery picked up as the first augment?
I mean, Lagoon, right? Over and over again, and we've seen it time and time again kind of come in and have a good performance. Again, it does need a lot of help to really get fully off the ground. Even something like the Seraphine Graves composition can kind of benefit from Blue Battery because Graves has a very low mana total, and Seraphine, generally speaking, would like to have a Spear of Shojin regardless, so you can kind of try to work around that instead.
We are going to check in with Annie Konda, however, who is currently on a little bit of a best friends angle, just like I am casting this game with my best friends. 100 HP together with Uni. They're currently leading the lobby both on a win streak moment, trying to maintain that. Annie is looking to get a little bit of an extra win in.
And 2 really good units on the bench. He was able to hit the upgrade on a Jax 2 or a Malphite 2. That's all he really needs. His damage is already sorted with the Ezreal 2, with the Rage Blade already slammed, and that Nidalee in the backline as well. But if he's able to hit these 2 frontline upgrades, Guido, I think almost a guarantee he'll be able to win streak all throughout this stage.
Yeah, absolutely right. Hitting those frontline upgrades is really big, and I think makes you want to point something out.
Yeah, so we did see Unit. I was waiting for Annie Konda to maybe do it, but Unit last second leveled up to level 6 to try and preserve the win streak. There was a real chance of these 2 meeting, and Unit said, I'm going to sack the economy. I'm going to make sure the win streak continues. And it did.
That's something you normally do on 2-6, not 2-5, right? So Unit will have had a massive bank to work with in the process already. Because Annie Konda is going to lose the Ging here. Didn't have the option of going 6 either, only was set on 10 gold, so this last streak probably, or the win streaks are probably not as strong here. But I want to talk about something. Unit is streaking with Pandora's items. So he's building a very strong board just all around here, has a very good one in the Gambler's Blade, fantastic Shimmer Scale item. And this could very well end up being like a Seraphine Graves position. Again, like double C is going to come through very shortly.
And a level 6 this early on is very strange and unusual most of the times, but the moment I saw it, I thought to myself, he must be playing Shimmer Skill, which is the way you're kind of able to get yourself out of this hole, which you already see here with only the 9 gold. 10, he was able to win it here. Again, pretty much restarting your econ from that 2-1 or 2-2 point in this stage 2. And we'll see now if this Volibear by itself can do it. Slams that Morello as well. Interesting thing to slam here on the Volibear. Do you think this is just trying like a desperation move to try and win this last fight?
I mean, he's probably, it could be, but also again, Volibear is a very good holder of pretty much all types of items. Well, again, hits free targets with his lightning, so he's going to be a good way of spreading that out here. And Gingsport's like deceptively strong because the Blue Battery really does help all of these Lagoon units, and the stun from that Seri has a massive impact, but the Karma damage is going to come through.
The Inner Flame, despite the nerfs to Karma, once again proving she did it in day 1, now doing it in day 2 as well, that she deserves to be on some of these boards early on, able to get that Dragonmancer in for the Volibear, Jade as well, and most times traits that kind of all mix together because of that Jax being both Shimmer Skill and Jade as well.
And that's kind of like a design philosophy thing, right? Like these free trait 2 costs are so strong, so versatile, especially with some of these traits that we're working with right now. We do have our economy overlay by Blizz GG pre-implemented here. Makes anything that stands out to you?
I mean, of course, Swallow Tiger, we have to call it out, was on that AFK augment, still on a losing streak, was on 50 gold, has now bought something, maybe gonna sell it off once again to get back to 50 before this round ends. But in the overall, it seems like the players that are currently at the bottom of the table seem to have a little bit more to work with. Of course, did go for that very early level and sacked some of this economy, but still has the rest of the lobby in a little bit of a chokehold.
And you need happy to let all of those components switch up into different ones with Pandora's items. Ended up getting that bow, and oh my god, that is a Volibear 2 for Sweller here as well. rolling at 6, trying to find some kind of a board here. Has a Psalm very early on. Has a second
Another
Psalm as
Psalm.
well. This is
One
level 6
more.
roll down.
Oh,
my
no.
goodness!
Okay, so I was
Sweller Tiger, what are you doing?
So I was about to highlight something, and for me, right, I was like, okay, you cannot get too baited in here. You cannot go way too deep and put yourself in unrecoverable position. But when you hit that Zone 2 like that, that is not going to be the case here. But again, Zone 2 doesn't have the items. Talia currently holding the items. Yes, Zone 2 will still do a lot of work here. But depending on the outcome here, I would like to see him put the item on a Zone right now, because Cybernetic Uplink, for example, right now would be a massive thing. It would be real big.
I mean, that hopefully we can get the damage breakdown in after this, but I feel like the Zone is putting in the work despite not having the items, despite not having an augment. There you see it. It is pretty equal between Talia
on
and
the bench
Zone.
makes.
Yeah, he didn't need it.
No, I feel like at this point you might just sell up to make 10. No, you got to rebuild that economy. But again, it depends on which augment's going to come through here, I do suppose. But Blue Battery, Luden's Echo, and Stand United, 2 really strong augments all around the table here. And it is going to be the Luden's Echo, because the blue buff has already been slammed. That extra little bit of damage here is going to be really strong in the middle part of the game. The augment kind of falls off towards the later if the game, the damage becomes a little bit more irrelevant. But right now, this is going to be a massive help for Sveltag to get through here. And I expect that the second he finds himself a Talia 1 again, these items will be transferred over.
And we'll see now. If players are going to be expecting this, Unique is still on a win streak. Going to be maybe worried, but I think he's level 7. I think Unique is doing pretty good for himself as well. Has a Jaden on now as well. Found that Gnar, as we were mentioning, off of the Karma. Has 2 more Karmas in the shop, but again, Karma, reroll, not really a thing anymore in this current patch.
I do want to say Unique is really running ahead of the lobby at the moment. He does not care about maintaining economy as much as he does about maintaining that win streak. As he goes for level 7, we just saw players like Sweller Tiger hit level 6. He's 1 whole level ahead of them and continues to push.
Say the line, David. Say the line.
Odessa has the Shimmer skill. Is that? Oh, watch out is what you're trying me to say. Okay, watch out. It's Lilia. She's being itemized here as well. She has Ionic Spark. She has the Hand of Justice, Gambler's Blade. The AoE damage is going to come in here, but never mind. Karma, can you do it one more time? Or is it going to be the watch out? It's going to be the watch out. Lilia gets the win here. Unique's win streak has come to an end.
And again, he's level 7.
Makes.
Look at the damage breakdown. That Lilia was working for her money. And to be fair, it is a comp that we haven't seen on Price. Obviously, that's not the full reroll Lilia just yet, maybe. But we have seen Lilia reroll in some off-stream lobbies. I think it was 5 or 6 in total of yesterday's games. So really interesting that players are going there and performing pretty decent with it.
Yes, and I want to quickly talk about the fact this is going to put Unique's economy in the gutter. Like, yes, he's level 7, he's going to have great natural shops, but the units he wants to hold are more expensive than the ones you would be holding on level 6, meaning that it's going to take a longer time for him to go back up in economy, and he has to make some pretty hard decisions, most likely, because he's not going to get that win streak goal coming in every round.
To no one's surprise, Shimmer skill all around. Any board you go to, the Gambler's Blade is there. Ezreal, the holder of this item for any Conda, also has that early Shimmer skill online. And so that just means that this lobby is pretty high roll here, I think. Just overall, the boards are looking so strong, and the gold leads as well, going to stage 3 and most of stage 4.
I do believe this actually could end up being a Lilia reel, because look at the bench.
Come on!
You have a Lilia on the bench already being prepped. You have an Olaf as well. It is going to be moved over to the left side. Well, it was sold for a second, right? But you're going to have that continuous gold income here. The Ionic Spark plus the Hand of Justice is a fantastic combination when it comes to what Lilia needs, because, again, she's shredding all the MR around her, and then she comes in with her massive AoE ability. So this could be the angle we've been looking for. We haven't seen it on stream all weekend, but again, you must be a little bit to Fin Tao. You say he was trying to, get Vega to play it, get all the German players to play it here, so makes anything you want to highlight here, you've spoken to a true expert on the topic.
To be fair, I think it's just a really fun comp. We've seen it usually played with scaled scorns, of course, going for really 6 scaled scorns where you can, sometimes 4. Usually the Lilia is 3-star, that's why they call it a reroll in the first place. But we're also seeing a lot of Sejuani 3-stars, we're seeing Olaf's 3-stars, a lot of Diana 3-stars with that comp, so really holding on. But yes, David.
2 Dejas. We saw the Sohm 2 happen. Surely we can see a Deja 2 as well. The Sohm there takes the place of that 7-cost dragon. It's not going to be ideal, though, because there is a knife set picked up for Skaramis, but surprisingly, I've also played a few kind of AD Deja games in Stage 3 and part of Stage 4, and it works kind of well, actually.
So I've been a big fan of BT plus Titan's Resolve Deja and specific Mirage as well. Like, it's not necessarily the worst thing in the world, especially when you are in a lobby where you'll end up seeing a lot of, let's say, Rengar backline. Not necessarily going to be dogfight lobby. I don't think we've seen anyone on it right now, but we also haven't seen all of the boards.
This Ezreal just printing money, Anaconda just picking it up, staying by his side. The best friends, I think Twitch is the one giving best friends to Ezreal, but maybe Anaconda's Little Legend as well, because he's just sticking into that corner right there.
Sometimes you have to keep your friends close, but that Deja will put an end to the Ezreal and bonk Anaconda once more on the head as we move into one more PvP round. I feel like the gold in this lobby is a little bit of an exciting topic. We can see some players are just printing money like Anaconda, and then on the other side, there are players like Unique, like Skarambus, who has sacked or have sacked their economy to really get board strength.
Yes, and that's the big thing. You also see, like, we saw a couple of free 6 level 7s coming in from Salvi. Again, free 5 being the most unorthodox play to group. And then look at it, the entire lobby, bar like one player, bar 2 players, is level 7 right now. That is very much a
it's the ripple effect. I mean, you see Unique going 7 so early on. You see players like Spoiler Tiger hitting that Sohm 2 and essentially maybe not losing most of Stage 3. And players thinking, unless I want to take 18 or 16 damage every single fight in Stage 3, I also have to start upgrading my board or going level 7 and also finding some stronger carries both in the tank role and in the carry role, as we're seeing here for the Lilia. Unfortunately, her watch out not going to work as well when Deja is targeting her from the very beginning of the fight. Lilia taken down, and now Deja, all she needs to do is clean up this fight while stacking more of these stacks for the Rage Blade, the Bloodthirster. Not too relevant in this case because there's nothing touching this Deja right now. She can just slowly pick off these units one by one.
Yeah, the issue with this fight specifically was the fact that the Lilia got caught off guard by the Rakan and also was on the same side as the Deja. I mean, the second the first frontliner fell, the Lilia just became the primary target. Whether or not it would have been different had it been on the other side of the field, that's a different tale, but definitely ended up costing Odessa more HP than necessary.
So we checked in with Anaconda just a little bit ago, but Dasik now also down there in the HP totals, 51. Not an awful lot to work with, and we can see the comp here. He has very generic augments, just a bunch of healing coming through, and it's angling for a Rage Ring moment if I had to guess.
It could be, but it's also maybe just missing the Yone. I think the Yone is the one thing with the Swift Shot emblem here. Also has a champion duplicated though. Could be a Xayah game with that Swift Shot emblem onto a Rakan instead.
Hecarim.
Or Hecarim. 2 very viable carriers outside of Yone for the Swift Shot emblem. We saw Zippy earlier today. Maybe we have some new champs getting some love from this.
So I think at the start of the set,
Jace here, very good pickup.
I think at the start of the set, a lot of us were kind of being like, okay, Rakan, the extended range more, what disables, but I think everyone kind of realized that it in fact is Hecarim that is the best holder because he scales so incredibly well with the attack speed. And it just means you can back on him, and I think we're going to see that in a short moment here. And you're right, it's going to be the transition coming through. Just staying on the 2 Rage Ring for now, so Hecarim is going to be left on the bench.
We'll go to 4 Swift Shot though, and we mentioned in the previous game how well Swift Shot goes into Swift Shot 4, into Swift Shot 5. I'm a little bit scared for where this goes just because I'm scarred from Wega's game yesterday where the Shyvana Xayah just couldn't pick off. We have seen it do so-and-so in the past games, but something is going on here on that screen. It's not the only Xayah that we're seeing with a...
Yeah, I was about to say you're going to have to be afraid for 2 people because Anaconda also pursuing that Xayah angle for now, but Dasik here, this is a very traditional Dasik thing to do. Use the Varus 2 as an item holder until that Xayah 2 and the rest of the components around the Xayah has become strong enough. And that is something that I picked up a lot from watching you stream back earlier in the set, where you used to do this a lot, even when Xayah was really good at 1-star.
We're going to see now the Augment's heroic presence is going to be okay. You have already the Guardians. This is an Augment that definitely jumped up a lot in terms of its placement, in terms of the stats in these last few patches, thanks to that buff to Guardians overall. Some Fireboard, if you don't have any anti-heal, can be also good, but maybe a lot better in the early game than now at 4-2. A roll is still available for Dasik, though. Could try and go for that kind of high roll moment. That being said, he's second in the standings. All he really needs is a consistent performance here. He doesn't have to take too many risks like many other players. It's going to be the Shimmer skill instead. It's on Shimmer skill 4, so it does make sense. It's going to be perfectly going to be able to get him some more gold.
Goldmancer staff.
Yeah. Gambler's Blade as well on the Xayah. And again, just trying to find one more Xayah. There it is. Now you have the champ duplicator. You can decide to go for the rolls because you have an Idas pair as well.
Seems like he used a champion duplicator on Idas. No, Either way, Idas 2, Xayah 2 coming through for Daisig should bring his board up to par with the rest of the lobby. But we hopped on over to Odessa, who has picked up something that we love seeing with the Lilia reroll. It's going to be base camp.
Love to go camping. To set up my tent, get the base camp going for all my skill scoring units. And for any viewers that are not aware, essentially, it's kind of like a semi-AFK. You don't have to move your units around. There's no more positioning puzzles to solve in the late game. Instead, you just leave them exactly where they are. But if you do, they get a whole lot of damage boosted up and allows this Lilia to get maybe even more bursty kills on some of these squishier units until you get these upgrades for most of his opponents. Odessa now, level 7, 73 gold to work with. And already has a second Lilia on the bench, fully prepped as well, Wida. Once he hits these upgrades, once he hits that Lilia 3, it's going to be a massive power spike.
Yeah, and something I want to highlight here as well is the fact that Odessa actually on the PvE round took out his Lilia to get an extra stack. Something that we see double for Go to do because they already had the fully prepped Graves and he was rolling for it. But when you're when you know you can't really send because you are getting a lot of power from the Gambler's Blade here, I like the fact you're just trying to min-max as many stacks as possible.
Absolutely. That's what you have to do, right? You want that Lilia to really cap out with the most that is possible. And some other things are going on where I feel like Odessa still has a lot of room to make this comp stronger. We are on a Diana 1. We're still not arriving at that Lilia 3. So once these two conditions are there, this comp is really going to pop off, and he has a lot of health, so he can actually get there.
Exactly. That's the big thing. The HP buffer, the fact that he has time to work with. He can take a few losses here and not worry too much and just allow himself to accrue even more gold and guarantee the Lilia 3 and then that power spike.
Final component carousel of the game coming through here right now, and this is going to be the big thing to look out for him. And that is just Ging, you know, he didn't slam
He's
it all
collecting.
I mean, I collect items, you know. I mean, I try to collect other people's LP, they collect mine instead, but you know, that's kind of... Maybe I need to...
Familiar with that.
Maybe I need to go base camping every time I try to climb the ladder, you know. Maybe that's the way to go.
See Odessa picking up the chain vest instead. Not really going to fit on the Lilia, but could be maybe an item for the Diana. Usually in this Lilia reroll comp, you want to go into Diana as a secondary carry. Diana can, of course, carry some fire pretty well because of her movement right into the backline, allowing that burning to happen on most of the carry units. But looking now at Skarambes, still on this Deja, despite the augments being a little bit more towards a D with a knife's edge, but it is only a silver knife's edge, so it's not the end of the world. That being said, 7 win streak, 70 gold to work with. The Deja 2 would be a big upgrade, not rolling for it just yet though.
Absolutely not, and again, Gambler's Blade being the big thing here. The amount of attack speed amplification is massive.
Odessa finds that Diana 2 will do him really, really well here as Skarambes and Sweller Tiger fight it off. And we're going to take a look at what that Deja 1 is doing because she's been doing really well. But on the other side, there's a Zome 2 fully itemized, just waiting to pop that bubble that Skarambes has found himself in. The Deja fights for her life. There's so much healing going on. Could not take out the Zome in the end, but it was pretty close.
The double thrill of the hunt, so massive. Maybe if the units lined up a little bit more, one of those wind blasts could have gotten a full heal onto that Deja. Yeah,
I want to talk about something. Right? Yes, Spell Tiger took a lot of damage in the process of arriving at the Zome 2 at 3-2, but we are we're an entire stage through.
There
she is.
Watch out, David, because now...
Watch out, not watch out me. Watch out for every other opponent in this game because this league is going to be doing a whole lot of damage in these next few rounds. We're still not even in stage 5 yet. That being said, Odessa still on the upper side of the HP totals, but very, very close game between every single one of these players, from Salvi at 34 to Daisig at 51. This game 4 looks to be very, very intense.
And this lobby in general, again, it's just kind of the name of the game because there was no one that was really like getting those early streaks on, trying to maintain that HP. It has been full commitment again. So Tiger, level 8 with his board now. It should be the point in time where it really becomes big because also, as you can see, the Nala 2 with the Thieves Club in the backline really doing a lot of work here. But despite the Zoe's best effort, this Lilia is slowly but surely coming ever so close to that Zome.
Oh, it was really, really close here. But in the end, the double hat trick from Nyla and Zome was going to find an end. Keep in mind, Odessa still has room. That Diana is a Diana too. He's still looking for more stacks of that preparation. And Olaf on the bench as well, that could go into an upgrade. So really, I'm not too worried for Odessa. It is Salvi and Anaconda that we need to be worried about. And we are on Salvi's board. He does find the Graves too, finally.
Edge of Night BT, yes, please. Perfect for my Graves. I don't think Salvi is going to roll through this. I mean, it's perfect. Two perfect items, maybe other than Titan's Resolve over that BT. I think Edge of Night is definitely one of the best items for Graves, especially in this lobby. That Lilia going to just walk away from the Graves once she ends up targeting him in any of these fights if Odessa meets Salvi. That being said, for Odessa, I think he's probably going to send it very soon as well with his roll down. We're seeing Salvi's roll down here as well. Finds 2 Terras. What's the key upgrade he's missing here, Guido?
Sari 2, Pantheon 2, as well as that 2-star Syra here. Obviously, the comp really likes the spikes with the Seraphine free being found, but just getting that extra HP on the Seri, getting the Pantheon to become even more of a tank, especially when you have that Feast Club on him, is going to be super important, but not necessarily guaranteed here. The Battle Together, as you're highlighting here, David, is a massive thing. It's the best slot augment here, but not having it until final augment.
Gunblade instead.
That's an interesting one, because it does mean that the healing is going to be spread more towards the entirety of the team. So, I don't need the BT because I have the Edge of Night already.
Something that's really interesting in terms of lobby totals, on the other hand, is that Anaconda is the only player who's still on level 7 and he does not have the gold to go to level 8. So that explains why he's currently at the bottom of the lobby leaderboard, and he won't have an easy time trying to find an out of this.
The bigger explanation, I think, is the fact that he's contesting the first player in this lobby, which is Dasik, who already found his Xayah upgrade. He's going for Xayah himself. It's something that you start scouting, you start saying, oh no, the best player in this lobby is playing the same comp as me. Usually that's bad news for Anaconda, and we're seeing why here. Down to 7 HP now, can be knocked out in this maybe next fight as well.
You can kind of see this is a very good, it's a very good case study when it comes to Shimmer Scale items here, because Dasik hasn't had to sell the Varus 2 on his bench, on his board rather, and just equip the double offensive items from the Shimmer Scales onto the Xayah instead.
We're seeing now this board.
There's Annie just emoting around, interacting with that little Poro that he finds on this map, and he does not have the Xayah 2. He has a lot of units that are not upgraded. Hecarim 1, Jace 1, even the Sejuani 1, and then a Zippy front line. Would have liked to have a Shyvana here. That's not really coming together, and I don't think he can turn this around. Sweller Tiger is waiting on the other side, and that Nyla, arguably not pretty good items for the Thieves Gloves, will still do a lot of damage.
She can be, a walking healing buff to everyone as she slipstreams through this board. But the bigger thing to worry about, I think, is going to be this Zome, the explosive damage coming out. Xayah deleted off of the map, and Anaconda as well takes an 8th in this game. The HP totals were so close a few fights ago, but now a massive gap between 8th and 7th place. Salvi still trying to stay alive here with 29, but takes a big hit as well, down to 14. Skarambez takes a win there, actually, so stays stable at 31. And Ging, maybe Turkey not doing so hot in this game, for also now going down to a 6th place.
And I think it's worth noting here as well, Salvi is on the outer skirts of the top 8 as of right now. So he really needs to have a really good performance here to kind of, elevate himself back into contention. Because again, we are cutting from 32 players to 8 players, and that is a really sharp cut.
It is, absolutely. And Salvi, of course, being the veteran that he is, he knows what he's in for, and he's just taking the best that he can do. He's going to remove that Shroud of Stillness once more to try and slam it. Very last second, will look where it has to go. It's going to be the Zome on the left side, will not reach, going to go back onto the Rakan, try to take out the Zoe.
3 more stacks on Lagoon, and there it is. Salvi will get a boot. Not the best of things to get from the Lagoon stacks in this case for Salvi, especially when you're in a position like this one where you have so little HP. You need anything and everything to really try and live just 1 or 2 more fights, and I think it won't be the case here. The Gunblade slammed on Graves. Looks like it's not going to be enough here. Trying to do his best. The Runons now slammed, now trying to just win this fight. Is it going to be enough? It looks like it will be. Graves with Zyra's help, and Bard 2 as well takes the win. Ging now pretty much equaling the HP for Salvi, down to 15, and now a bit of a micro gap there between Ging and Salvi and the rest of the players.
Look at this carousel though. Zephyr, Shroud, Swiftshot Emblem, Lagoon Emblem, whatever your heart desires is right there, right? This is going to help someone like Dasik, for example, if this Lagoon Emblem is going to carry all, not the Lagoon, the Swiftshot Emblem, it's going to go all the way down to him, because again, it's not the Disciple Emblem. There's no Yone player in the lobby. I know it sounds wild, but it's not the case.
He's gonna get it. It is open, and he just runs for it on a Terra nonetheless. Tangled in the tank as well. Really big pickup for him. I do want to say, Selvi slamming those items onto the graves mid-fight, trying to make it. That is content. That's what we're here for, and he knows it. He was making sure that we're watching. Now finding that Pantheon 2 as an upgrade to his board, really good.
And Dasik on a whole other game finds a second. Xayah has a second Swift Shot emblem as well that he can put onto, well, maybe Hecarim, but Hecarim not on the board, just going to be on the Braum instead, playing that Guardian variation of Xayah, not so much leaning into Rage Wing. Has Siobhan in the shop though?
Has Siobhan in the shop, but it's 5 Swift Shot Power Spike right now, and so much of his strategy is locked into these Shimmer Scale items, so he cannot take out something like that. Nasus, for example, which would be the most natural slot out, because again, that also goes in connection with the 4 Guardian.
He does have 2 Xayah 2s on board as well, so looking for that Xayah 3, and then maybe finding himself an angle where he can slot another unit in. Doesn't look like it's going to be the Shyvana though, as he does not lock the shop, is just staring at his comp, seeing what they do.
And again,
Dasik, no desperation yet though. 44 HP, currently the HP leader. Needs to have some gold to get some value from those Shimmer Scale items, and I think until he finds another natural Xayah, maybe a second one, or until he starts losing HP, there's really no need to start desperately rolling down all that gold to try and find that win condition. Xayah, of course, got buffed in her normal version from 18 to 20% with the feather damage, and also the 3-star version finally became a real unit. Everyone is so happy because until now, sorry to all the viewers that tried so hard to get her to work, she was fake. 3-star Xayah lost so many fights that she should not be losing. In this case now, buffed that damage up to 30% and is now once again viable as a win condition.
Absolutely right here. So the Zephyr placement is going to be absolutely massive. Again, such flexible thing to do with the Cavaliers here. Salvi now is going to have a massive fight here.
Absolutely. So let's see how this one goes. On the other side is Odessa, still not having found that Diana 2 and absolutely getting Shroud of Stillness from Salvi. The Lilia takes forever to get her first cast off, and that will be the determining factor here. Odessa nearly falling to death. 1 HP remains. That will be what he needs to work with, and Sweller also taking a loss.
And the big thing here as well, look at Ging's bench. Look at Salvi's composition. Ging needs to die for Salvi to be able to have a real chance at finishing out his board. The saving could be set the otherwise. We see Salvi has kind of given up on the 3-star Seraphine dream.
And Odessa, that Lilia with the Shroud that hit her early on, the first cast, as Makes was saying, came in a little bit too late, and Odessa falling down to 1 HP. Not quite working as well for him. The JG coming in here, I guess it can work on the Seraphine, but maybe not the most prio item to build or to have for this comp.
Absolutely. We're going to find out what Ging and Odessa will do in the next round. We don't know if they're going to be meeting, but hopefully they can get a big pickup from that little treasure goblin here that came on through. We're just waiting to see what will happen in the next round. I can already tell that some of the off-screen lobbies are finishing as we speak, but this one's still going. Odessa finding some dragons, not what he was looking for, getting on that roll down. He really would have liked that Diana or the Yasuo, but nothing is coming together.
And Dasik and Salvi, we all know, currently top 8 in the standings in a good position, but the 3 players that are fighting for a spot in that top 8, Sweller Tiger, Ging, and Odessa, they're all in a line here in the standings, but they're all in a line in the actual standings as well. One by one, they're still, I guess, shaking hands all together, but all about to be taken down. Big Zephyr, as Wida is saying. The Siphon is so dangerous with the Rampage Bite. Almost bit off Lilia's head there. Not quite hit the unit on the left instead, but now it's the Lilia versus the Siphon. I don't think the Lilia can do it all by herself. Shio Yu also surrounded. Oh, bonk! I spoke too soon. Odessa, get my caster blessing. Lilia, watch out! It's the reroll Cavalier coming through, and unfortunately for that opponent, it was just too much to handle for you need.
Dice of Kai'Sa.
Come on.
Oh, that's Dice of Ashe, actually. I don't even know my...
Too many chibis now.
Yeah, imagine knowing animations as a caster, right? Dice of Cringe, Dice of Cutscene always works.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I was
Just
going to
keep it
say,
safe,
just
Wida.
keep it safe. So Swallow Tiger and Ging getting knocked out here. Odessa survives by the blessing of Eve. And Unid, who had the lobby running in the first half and then fell down hard, is also on single digits. He could get knocked out as Odessa finds the Yasuo too.
That might be big. I mean, that stall from the Yasuo sweeping blade is maybe enough to get that Lilia ramping up, to get that damage, that burst AoE damage coming through, especially with a 3-star prepped version of Lilia and with base camp as well. So it's just so much damage. Really, you just want the cast to come through, the right targeting especially. And Lilia just jumps right into that backline. Varus going to be deleted off of the map once that cast comes through. The bar CC is big, but I think not going to do enough to stop this Lilia. But now she's stuck on a Dragon's Claw Idis. The Golden Scale is going to stop so much of this damage for so long. And Xayah untouched on the left there,
Yasuo survives, so whatever happens here, the Yasuo will take out the Xayah in the remaining run. Hopefully, come on! He cannot stack up, but the Lilia will finish the job, and Unique gets knocked out 5th.
I've been telling my co-casters, since I started learning the champion ability names for this tournament, I've been waiting to say watch out for, as much as possible in a game. Odessa, thank you for giving me the opportunity to say watch out. From the top rope, Lilia coming in, deleting units.
Yeah,
we spoke about it earlier, Witta, about Dasik and the chance of a Shyvana coming through. Here it is, drops that Swift Shot 5 down to Swift Shot 4, is still looking for the Xayah, needs 2 more copies to finish Xayah 3, but for now the Shyvana 2 will go in.
King taken down at 7th, Unique taken down as well, Solar Tiger as well. That means that Odessa is one of those players that are still fighting for a spot in the top 8. Needs to get it first, ideally, in this game, but Dasik is currently the HP leader. Salvi also win streaking at this point. Skarambas fighting for his life. The Deja trying to do its best. Targeting now the Shyvana. The Dragon's Descent went the wrong way. Shyvana only fighting with that Bard, with the fiery breath there, but Deja with the resets, with the Bloodthirster, with a Thrill of the Hunt, it might be enough if she's able to get a few more resets. She does. Xayah versus Deja. Can Deja do it all by herself?
Oh
my
God.
goodness, the challenger level AI from this Deja.
I doubted it.
I know, I saw you on my legs. Be careful.
I did not think that Deja can take it. Odessa, however, getting knocked out.
So if this guild emblem goes all the way through, right, that is going to be yet another cherry-picked emblem being given to Dasik on a carousel here. The guild emblem to go, make that Shyvana even more tanky. It could be the case. Could also just be Archangels for more raw damage, because the healing already kind of built in its trait, etc. And again, the big thing to note between the Dasik sports and from earlier and before now, why the Shyvana 2 is actually an option. Level 9 has been achieved, which I think is a big thing as well. The board all around it has been stronger as well.
Yeah, Dasik finds another Xayah. 1 more copy needed to find that Xayah 3. We'll get a Jace too. He's going to take that. No complaints here, but will he keep going to look for Xayah 3? That will be a massive upgrade to this comp, but he seems happy and content for now as we see what's going on with these 3 players. Salvi's going to meet up with Skarambas, and Skarambas might die here. It's all eyes on the double thrill Deja and whether or not she can get those resets to survive.
She's trying her best. Mystic Emblem making it a little bit harder. More magic resist here for the comp for Salvi, but Skarambas just needs to stay alive. He's only at 5 HP now. A win here could knock out Salvi instead and put Skarambas in a spot to get a second or maybe even a first. At Deja once again resetting, but Graves is still alive. Graves is up in Deja's business. I think this time Deja will not be able to get the reset. Salvi taken out in 3rd place here, or Skarambas rather.
And I think that's worth noting here as well. Yes, that's only just a Syra 1, but he had the option to kind of, pull some of those backlines a little bit out, because Graves is going to come into that regardless. And now the 1-1 here, the big thing as well is going to be that Xayah free, and there it is! And that's the big thing now.
A real unit, a real 3-star 4-cost carry for Dasik. Doesn't have much gold to work with for the Gambler's Blade, but still with 20 gold, with Xayah 3, with a very strong board overall, should still be enough for a first place.
Let's see how this one goes. On the other side is Salvi. Salvi's on a 7-win streak. His board not fully capped out just yet. And that Shroud of Stillness will basically go into nothingness. The Xayah is untouched on the left-hand corner of the board, just completely destroying anything and everything that is in her path. Nothing's going to keep on standing, and Salvi actually gets knocked out here as Dasik claims another win in this tournament.
My favorite, or one of my favorites coming into it, and he has shown up when it matters most. This is maybe finally his time to make it to Worlds. We're not in day 3 just yet. This is not the definitive moment for him.